people believe that athletes are, they have just been built with this mental resilience. What people forget is that they are humans. Athletes are humans first, and then they are athletes. So if you have to tell us about, firstly, what is mental resilience and why one should be able to understand what exactly it is.
Yeah, I think mental resilience is the skill that we create over time to deal with the adversity that we face from the mental side. Because I think, when you think about athletes are almost overdeveloped when it comes to physical resilience. That idea of, I get through a really tough workout, I take some time to recover, I get back at it the very next day, right? And I think our bodies are much quicker to respond to adversity and recovery than our minds. I had a conversation with someone one time, and it really kind of opened my world, because I originally thought that mental resilience was built the same way in terms of physical resilience of, when you think about a tough workout, the whole goal is to actually break your muscles down, right? Find those miniature tears, or create those miniature tears, so that when you give your body proper rest and recovery, it comes back stronger. And I used to equate that same thing with our minds, but our minds are a little different in terms of, we almost can't bring them to the brink of rippage or tearing, because the process of repair takes longer than it does our physical resilience. And so it's more about knowing that from a mental standpoint, we come up against this adversity, but how do we give our minds the proper recovery and response to come back stronger? It's not necessarily a next day thing, and we just give ourselves I'm using this tongue in cheek, right? A quick nap and a great meal, and we bring ourselves, our bodies will respond rather quickly. Our minds take a bit longer, because what our minds are really great at doing is creating patterns so that it doesn't have to think and rebuild every time it comes up against something. And so this idea of mental resilience, of being very intentional of what that recovery looks like, but also not pushing ourselves to the brink, because that rest and recovery could take a lot longer. And I think it's really important for athletes to realize that, because their physical resilience is so well developed, that they're taking the same kind of steps, or maybe not even a great deal of intentional steps to rebuild the mind, or not rebuild, but maybe rebuild, once we come up against that adversity.
So if you had to differentiate between the physical resilience and the mental resilience, as you said, not sometimes, an athlete, the mental resilience or the physical resilience, when it comes to when they are completely fine, like they are practicing, that is going to be completely different when you compare to an athlete who's going through an injury. Their physical resilience and mental resilience is going to be different. So firstly, how can one differentiate between the physical and the mental resilience? And secondly, about that timeline, it's going to be different. How will you tell that to our listeners?
Yeah, I think the differentiation is that there's a great deal of intention for both. And it almost is the similarity, right? Is that oftentimes when we think about mental resilience, we don't think about the intention that goes into rebuilding or recuperating the mind, right? Injury is a great example of, from the outside world, when an athlete is injured, there is that, no, you will not be playing today, right? Give yourself rest and recovery and make sure you're taking care of yourself. Though oftentimes when there's a break in the mental foundation with an athlete, there isn't that same level of intention So far, or up to this point, maybe, you know, the messages has really been, you're fine. Just, you know, just take a deep breath. You'll move forward. It'll be fine. You're great. Move, you know, it's fine. We don't necessarily give that same level of intention to both quote unquote injuries. And so I think it's the differentiation, but that is rooted in the similarity of both require a great deal of intention. And that we're not necessarily giving athletes the time to think about, oh goodness, these negative thoughts that enter my mind, right? How have they affected me? Because again, going back to the pattern, if we step up to the plate of a big game and we've got those negative thoughts in our head, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit later, those patterns start to develop, right? So the next time you step up to the big game, those patterns will, you know, kind of enter because you're starting to feel the emotion of either worry or anxiety or whatever the case may be. And really being very purposeful of how did those thoughts affect me? How can I review them, go through them, think about how to unravel them the next time they come up? And again, it goes back to there isn't necessarily a huge differentiation. It's just that now we are much more intentional about going after the mind, much like we have the body when we see an injury.